Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Special Finance Committee meeting of November 20th, 2025. I acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the traditional territory of the Shano and South First Nations. The District Metchosin is committed to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, and we recognize and honor and respect the presence of Indigenous peoples past, present, and future. Please be sure to have your cell phones turned off during the meeting. Committee, we have an agenda before you. We have 4 letters from the public in our supplemental and our pinks. So we will put that in the correspondence on number 4. Are there any other additions or changes to the agenda? Moved by Mayor Little, seconded by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Public participation. Please attend if you wish to speak to the podium and press the button. It'll turn the microphone on. You'll know that by the red light that is indicated that it is active. You'll have 4 minutes to speak. The green light will signal the start. The yellow will provide you a 30-second warning, and the red will mark the end of your time. We ask that all speakers present present their comments respectfully to the council, the staff, and the visitors in the gallery this afternoon. Go ahead and step up if you would like to speak with us now. You are welcome.
I didn't do it. My name is Anita Strauss, live 1195 Whitley Gill, Metchosin. My letter was actually directed to Councillor Donaldson as the chair of this committee, but it applies to everyone, and I just hope to read it into the record. I'd like to request, so dear Councillor Donaldson, I'd like to request that the consideration be given in the November 20th Special Finance Committee budget meeting to increase the budget allocation for the Grant in Aid program. The increase should be enough to allow Metchosin to allocate funds to all the charities and nonprofits affected by the unfortunate decision to no longer grant the full permissive tax exemption for the 2026 tax year. By topping up the now limited exemption of only Metchosin's property taxes, it would allow the charities and nonprofits in Metchosin to weather the effects of the revised bylaw in 2026. While I understand it is too late too late for the bylaw decision to be reversed for 2026, it can and it should be revisited in the new year for the 2027 and future tax years. Certainly, I have never heard so much negative comment about the council decision by people in the community in the 26 years I've lived here, and this discontent should be addressed. I go on to say I can't attend the meeting because I can't drive in the dark, but obviously I have because it's not dark yet. One of the things I just wanted to add to that, which wasn't in my letter, is Mr. Carney had felt a need to say this in the legislature, mostly to members of the opposition, but I think it stands for here, is we're not Americans. We do not need to follow the American practice of everything being transactional and working for a heads I win, tails you lose kind of proposition. Canadians do not have that in their values, and we have not as a community been insensitive to the needs of those people who depend on us to be able to provide services that may not affect us directly, but certainly have a larger effect within not only our community, but in the CRD and Up Island as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bev Bacon, Metchosin resident, and you do have my letter on file, but I'd like to read it into the record. And mine is a simple ask: just do whatever you have to do to the budget so that you can clear away this problem with the property tax on the nonprofit societies. And I think so long as you put it in the right place in the budget, whether it's grants in aid or however you do it. I think what Mr. Creek said was it's as simple as we mark paid in full when we send them out their tax notice. So the letter says, and I'm confident you're going to do the right thing. I'm confident you're going to do the right thing. I'm very impressed with the response from the residents of Metchosin in defense of the nonprofit organizations that provide valued service to Metchosin. You must also be impressed with the passion and good reasoning expressed in public participation and in letters. It is abundantly clear that while the property owners in Metchosin do want you to be conservative with spending and resourceful with income, we don't want the nonprofits to pay property tax. And they're not using the library, and they're not using the rec center, and they're not using the services that taxes provide. While the deadline for paperwork to grant permissive tax exemption has passed, the opportunity exists for council tonight to put enough money in the grants and aid budget, or however you choose to do it, and be able to pay both shares of the property tax for the nonprofits that have applied for exemption. I urge you to do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Morgan Yates. Given this council's recent attention to fiscal prudence and views from elected leadership that every little bit helps in reducing the burden on taxpayers, it's timely to discuss related best practices from the private sector. In the private sector, while disciplined cost control is a general practice, it tends to be most keenly focused on line items with the most zeros. It also tends to be focused on departments that have a history of budget over expenditure and repeat reliance on supplemental funding to cover those over expenditures. It's a recognized best practice for senior management to scrutinize and challenge estimated expenditures on large items which lack supporting detail, and where greater attention to such detail might create meaningful cost savings. The 2026 capital projects category of the district's draft 5-year financial plan includes 4 line items, 2 from Public Works and 2 from the Fire Department, which together total to $2.7 million and which are currently weak in supporting detail. A savings of just 5% on these line items would keep $135,000 in the jeans of Metchosin taxpayers. For a moment, setting aside the issue of costs and potential savings, let's consider an implicit principle. As a community, we invest in public works and we invest in the fire department because they provide valued services to our residents. There's an implicit understanding of a cost-benefit relationship. Similar recognition of a cost-benefit relationship should be extended to the volunteer-supported nonprofit agencies which own property here and which also deliver services to our community. To be clear, if we recognize a cost-benefit relationship for services provided by district departments with salaried employees, we should also recognize a cost-benefit relationship where community services are provided by unpaid volunteers. The September 15th report by CFO Creek on 2026 permissive tax exemptions provides important benchmark values from which we can infer that, number 1, there are 2,079 average tax-paying households in Metchosin, and number 2, the September 15th report was used to impose a roughly 49% reduction in tax exemptions for local nonprofit agencies, and number 3, this very large reduction in support for our nonprofits translates to a potential savings of about $45 per year per average tax-paying household. Now, getting back to costs and savings, by comparison, achieving a cost savings of just 5% on the 4 major capital items identified for 2026 would translate to a savings of about $65 per year per average tax-paying household. This would achieve more gain for much less pain. I thus urge council and administration to adopt best practices from the private sector to manage our finances and property tax increases. I also urge council and administration to employ a consistent and fair practice of cost-benefit analysis. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, council and CAO and everybody else in the room. My letter is about the Weirs Beach Trail project. Early in 2025, council agreed to an amount of $15,000 to build a trail and stairs at Weirs Beach. I'm wondering when council passed the motion to double the original voted on amount, because the current budget financial plan now shows the project was budgeted at $30,000. I'm just wondering when that happened. Costs to date are now over $32,000, but the railings have yet to be installed. This may seem like small potatoes to some, but will this be another cost to taxpayers? The questions I would really like answered there are four of them. When the concrete pad on the beach failed, why did Machosen pay for the rebuild? Did the company that originally built it not have insurance? Were both the original project and the rebuild stair subject to a geotechnical or engineer assessment prior to construction? Were the design and materials approved by district staff prior to building to ensure they were adequate to withstand winter high tides and storms? I took photographs that show some metal components were already rusting only 4 months after the original build. As the concrete pad is built on the foreshore intertidal zone, did the district obtain necessary provincial permits prior to construction? These are reasonable questions to ask, because the Weirs Beach stairs should have been a small, uncomplicated project with an accurate cost estimate, yet actual costs are more than double the original budgeted amount. The pending rebuild of the fire hall concerns me, because it's an exponentially larger project than the Weirs Beach stairs. If a $15,000 trail project was not properly managed, it's difficult to have faith in the management of the building of a project of over $20 million. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak this afternoon? Okay, seeing no other participation at this time, the public will have an opportunity to weigh in after the committee has gone through the presentation with Mr. Creek. And so right now I will ask Mr. Creek to present his report. Once that's presented, then the committee will have a conversation with Mr. Creek on his findings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Through the chair. So this meeting is about the capital and special projects that are currently in the draft financial plan for 2026 through 2030. We'll start off by covering what happened in 2025. So there was some road replacement over on Machosen Road, Redwood Lane, Lindholm. So that came in at $664,000. The bulk water station has been started with the CRD and the Wanafuka Water Commission. So we gave them 175 based on the budget of 175. And then the bike rack, bus shelter, and mural over there. So originally budgeted for 10,000, came in just over at 11,000. We had a buffer gate. The buffer land gate was repaired. It was dented, so the new one cost $1,500. Weirs Beach stairs, as mentioned there, it's come in at 32. We're still waiting on the hand railing to come in to complete that project. Fire truck hose, about $10,000, $10,800. Some self-contained breathing apparatus bottles, $4,900. The fire hall roof repair, which kind of came later in the year due to the leaking roof, came in at $19,548. That came in much cheaper than it could have been because the donations from a few local companies, Roops Roofing, might be saying that wrong, and True Line Contracting. They donated materials, supplies, and also some additional funds to the project. Community house parking pad. So this was part of that SPARK grant that the district applied for and received. We allocated $10,000 to that, and the Butler Brothers, Stand Fry, and True Line Contracting all contributed rebar, concrete, and some man hours to it, which helped us get us under budget for that project. The school museum ramp, again, that was the other part of the Spark BC grant. So we budgeted $15,000. It came in at $14,339. The municipal hall roof got new shingles on here. That came in over budget at $134. Municipal server upgrade. So we went from 2011 up to 2024, just because nothing was going to be supported anymore. And so that came in at $25,000. And I think that is about it. So, moving on to 2026. Right now, in our draft budget, for public works, we've got about 1.2 million. And so this is just kind of a base guess of spending 800,000. It's based on us amortizing $1 million worth of roads every year, putting that in the roads reserve. And so right now we're looking at doing Tiswild. That was on the asset management plan from last year that was pushed off last year into this year. Then also Rocky Glen, Glen Forest, William Head, and Sundance. And then there's also a big road culvert on Mield Road for $400,000. We're still waiting on the engineer report to come back to actually find out what the design costs are going to be on that. I think they're planning for like 1 in 200 year flood to make sure it lasts. Fire department, so we've got 1.6, but 1.25 of that is for the fire hall. So unlikely that that will actually happen in 2026, but it could be used to hire the project manager that's been discussed in order to get that ball rolling, find out which way to do the contract bidding, that type of thing. We got $40,000 for a new roof on the EOC building, $72,000 for tech rescue equipment. Might be able to get a grant for some of that. Another $5,000 for breathing bottles. The $250,000 for fire truck to replace the number 6 engine. That was moved from the 2025 budget over to 2026. This is mostly to get in line to get one, ideally off the lot. And then another $12,000 for fire hose replacement. Parks, talking about there, $10,000, so $10,000 for trail development. The school, so we've got $20,000 that we're putting away for the septic replacement in the future in 2030, because that's going to be about $100,000. $20,000 for a new ramp going into the school for accessibility, and then $10,000 for assorted other problems that creep up in a 50-year-old building. And then administration. So this project was on the 2025 budget. So $25,000 for municipal hall parking lot improvements for new lighting, paving, and then $12,000 for hearing loop. Again, we should be able to access another grant. We're hoping to get another Spark BC grant for accessibility, and that would help cover the cost there. And then $5,000 for assorted upgrades for this building. Not too sure what it would be. Same thing for office furniture, another $5,000. $13,500 for laptop upgrades. Those are also aging out. And then $15,000 to start moving all of our paper records to digital storage. And then also in the budget is $200,000 related to the Fire Smart program. And that's 100% grant funded. For the planning department, we're using $4,000 for the bufferland water metering to monitor the flow in the creek there. Public works for special projects, we've got $67,000. So $7,800 for some trail barriers along Happy Valley Road to prevent parking on the trail. And then they need about $60,000 for a few grinders and assorted equipment. And then parks itself, $10,000 for some dog signage, and then another $10,000 for any trail development. And so this part kind of covers where the money's all coming from. So for the admin projects and capital, so we're using money coming from the accumulated surplus across those 5 years, and then as well as the general municipal reserve in 2026. For the fire hall capital project funding, we've got the fire equipment reserve, general reserve, the statutory fire department equipment reserve, the grants, that's the fire smart one, the building replacement reserve, half of that is for the EOC roof, the other half is coming from the fire equipment reserve, and then that for the fire hall part is just the growing community fund. For public works, so we're taking money out of the municipal equipment reserve, the general municipal reserve. We have to tap into accumulated surplus in order to offset the lack of funds in the municipal equipment reserve in 2027 and 2029. We use the trail replacement reserve for the trail barriers, and then road maintenance reserve and community works fund in order to cover the cost of the roads. Then in planning, we're just taking that out of accumulated surplus for the water metering. And then Parks and Rec, so we got accumulated surplus, the community works fund again, the school building reserve, and the trail replacement reserve. So next steps, we're looking to get approval for the projects in 2026 so that we can start A, applying for some grants to help cover the costs, and then B, so we can also put things up to tender and RFP so that we can get the projects completed in 2026 rather than waiting until April to put it out to tender. I think that is everything. Is that my last one? Boom. Cool. All right. Questions?
Okay, committee. First question, Councillor Shuka.
Oh, I maybe don't have a question
Okay.
right off the bat, but I did want to maybe ask Mr. Creek to go back to some of his slides. So just if we can, yeah, perfect. What? Yeah.
Sure. Is there a particular one?
Oh, if I could, thank you very much. Through you, Councillor Donaldson. Mr. Creek, I think you've identified $800,000 for road repairs, and I think a total of, yeah, in terms of public works, infrastructure, $1.2 million, and $800,000 for work on Tiswell, Bobla, and Sundance. And it would be good to know what the nature of that work is, whether it's a full resurfacing, whether it's widening, whether it's just sounds probably like it's resurfacing, and but also again, how long, like what the stretch is that we're looking at.
Through you, Chair. Good questions. Some of those are just resurfacing. Some of them based on that road management plan from last year or early this year. Yeah, years get confusing for me. But some of them have to be redone fully based on the asset management plan, and then some are just middle of the road where they can just do an overlay and get another 20 years out of them. But I can look into the size of them per se for you. Yeah. It's like I know, like the William Head Road, it's closer to the jail, and apparently that is quite significant size, and it was supposed to be done a few years ago, so they had done some overlay like 4 years ago, I believe, Public Works told me. Then they were supposed to come back and redo the whole thing. That hasn't happened. So the longer we wait on that one, then we would have to do a full reconstruction, which more money, but I can find it for you.
Okay. And there's 2 points of interest I have in that information. So the first one is just what are we doing? And what is the projection for the cost of each? And of course, they're projections because the true cost comes out in tenders.
Through the chair, correct. So everything, like these numbers are just based on what the asset plan was that we got, and so basically $800,000 a year for the next decade. Now the roads that we completed in 2025, some of them were under budget compared to their estimate, and then some were over budget. So it's hit or miss on what it actually comes out at. The only one that comes out of my head right now is the Williams head. That was projected to be $250,000 to do what it is. Now, council has previously talked about, widening, having bigger shoulders for trails, that type of thing. If we're going to add that on, that would certainly shrink down the number of roads that we could do within that budget, and then just kind of limit it depending on what kind of plans are in the future for the William Head Road, and if there's going to be any access for what Mary Hill is going to turn into.
Yeah, great point. Sorry, I'll stop after this. And my second point of interest is what Mr. Creek has covered is there potential for widening? Is there merit in doing any type of widening? And we won't really know that until we understand the sections that are maybe being done. So, but I do hear you that if we were to look at that, there's a cost implication as well.
Correct. Yeah. When I was talking to Public Works, I think half the roads on this plan, like they said, there's not a chance just because steep ravine, that type of thing, that you can't widen to make a trail. But William Head certainly available. I think I want to say they said Sundance could be done. But again, drives up the cost of the whole project. So chop off a few in order to be able to fit them within the $800,000 budget. But we'll find out with what roads you want to approve, and then when we take it to tender. Because when we took it to tender last year, there's only 2 companies that end up bidding on Vancouver Island, and what they came back with was more than we could budget for the road. So we chopped off the road when they came back with their tender. So if we come out and say, yeah, we've got 800,000, if they say, well, you can get 3 of these done based on what they say. So it's some guesswork involved.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Little, and then Councillor Gray.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, we did look at paving Boblaw before, but there's only about 7 driveways there. It's a very short lane, similar to Still Meadow. It doesn't service a lot, and I think it's perfectly fine the way it is. We discussed Tisfield last year, and I remember Councillor Epp saying, just fix the pothole. And so I would like some information whether that pothole had been fixed, and not particularly in favor of paving some of the shorter lanes or roads. It'd be nice to save that money for the future as well. I think we did quite a bit of paving on William Head last year towards the prison. Councillor Donaldson might remember, maybe was it the year before, but there was quite a large project that was done.
Yes, we did from, well, at that time, you'll recall, it was our first year. I think 1.2 million was estimated from Pearson College Way to the prison. And what we chose to do is to patch and crack seal, given that there is potential for development in that neighborhood. So I'm not sure where we're at with it now. And in regards to the other ones that you spoke about, which was Boblaw and Tisfield, I think my inquiry would be, could we patch and crack seal those, given the lower traffic flow compared to some of the larger roads. I do know that Sundance and Glen Forest are now riddled with crack sealing, and probably they are due for an overall surface replacement. Some consideration. Go ahead, Mayor Little.
Yeah, and further, I just wanted some information about the $400,000 Neil Road culvert. It seems a lot of money for a culvert, but I'm just wondering, has the culvert failed? And I was wondering if you could speak to the $400,000 culvert expense. Thank you.
Through the chair. So the culvert itself has not failed yet. There was a report back in 2024 from some engineers showing it's not looking good. There's a Band-Aid that you could throw on it. Very expensive and probably not worth it. It's better to just replace the whole thing. So there's 3 different 1,200 millimeter, 1200 millimeter, something gauge culverts down there that they'd end up replacing. And right now, the preferred method sounds like it's going to be a big concrete box culvert to replace those. The culverts that they've been working on for the past couple of years, they're totally eroded away, like just the steel metal corrugated ones that you generally see. They're just totally gone because the water and salt has eroded them entirely. So putting in concrete will ideally have a longer lifespan, but we're still waiting on an engineer report for design on that one, and then we should have that early 2026, and then be able to come back with a better idea of the cost. The 400,000 is more of a placeholder.
Thank you. And through the chair, that makes sense. So, of course, we don't want to wait till the culvert fails. But if it is about to fail, I think it's good timing, and it's good to know this is for 3 culverts and not just 1. Thank you for that.
Quick question related to culverts. The culvert.
Okay, and then Councillor Grace
For
waiting
sure.
in line as well.
Do you mind if I just tag on a question about the culvert?
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay, thank you. One consideration about the culvert, I think I know where it is, but is just to keep an eye on stormwater management from the Center Mountain development. So as we know, the stormwater management pond was going to be in the bufferland. It is now moved onto the Langford side, and which in some ways means we have less control over the design and the design and outcome of that system. And I think we have to be prepared to deal with change in that water system there. So if you're bringing this to the engineer, you might mention that to them. I don't know the full hydrology of that area. Some of this may be draining. It may not impact at all the Neil Road area, and it may just drain into Bilston Creek and further down the road. But that is something for the engineers to have a look at. Thank you, Councillor Donaldson, and to Councillor Gray.
There is significant water, present day water, that comes off of that mountainside and goes into Chosen Creek and then empties into Bilston Creek at Hull Ridge area. So even without the development yet, and some of that will be skirted the other way, but we still probably will get a lot of water because of the clear cut. Councillor Gray, you had some comments.
Sure. Well, it sounds like we should, from Mr. Creek's take and from staff, that the Neil Road culvert needs to be addressed. But I'm just to understand that we'd seen it in our budget last year. The placeholder was $250,000, and this year the placeholder is $400,000. But I take it either way, it's a placeholder until we hear from an engineer about what we're doing.
Through the chair? Yep. Yeah, when I was asking staff about the 250, because I was like, okay, what's happening? Because we didn't do anything with it in 2025. I'm like, well, that's not going to cover it. Put in 400 now. Okay. So I maybe, fingers crossed, comes in lower than that. But we'll have to wait and see what the engineers say.
Thank you.
Mayor Little.
Yeah, can I just step back a bit to the
Please.
2025? So on page 4, the community house pad. Yes, so part of the Spark BC grant. We also received donations from Butler Brothers, Stan Fry, and True Line Contracting. Through the chair, I'm just wondering, CFO Creek, do we have an estimate of those other contributions? And for sure, we should at least send a thank you card or some kind of a recognition. Sometimes I know the True Line Contracting company helped with the museum, and there was a big sign outside of the old museum, school museum, noting the donation, and I think that it's important that we acknowledge when money is given or work is given in kind. Thank you.
Through the chair. So for the community house parking pad, total donations, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I believe it was about a third of that total cost. It was around $35,000 to $4,000. And then for the fire hall roof, total donations were closer to, man, I think it was $9,000, $10,000 in total on that one. So pretty significant in the broad scheme of things in order to help us keep it under budget.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, committee, can we go back to page 3? And are there any queries on the first part of what's been suggested for road placement, bulk water, and then we'll go back to finishing the chart here. Anything on those 2 items? Just so we don't bounce around too much. Okay, so let's, anything else on page 4 on the top part of this chart? Councillor Gray.
Well, I guess the first one there that I'm interested in is the Weirs Beach stairs. And I'm seeing a figure of $30,000 as our budget, but I recall as Ms. Sawatsky had commented, that was $15,000. And now we're up to $32,164.30 and more cost to come. And I just wondered if we get some clarity, perhaps from the CAO, either today or in a written form, about how these things work. One would be to fashion a reply to Ms. Sawatsky's letter, which I think would be a good idea to get it on the record what's happened here. But I'm interested in the question of expenditure controls. Basically, how do these things work? So we looked at the Weirs Beach stairs here and we debated back and forth, and we set a price $15,000. And as far as I know, it's not come back to this table again for another discussion. And I would have thought, as is written in the draft Parks Master Parks and Trails plan, that special projects are looked at by the council, we approve them, and then it would seem to me that if there's an issue about spending or problem, it would come back to council. And this one hasn't done that, and now we're double the price. So through the chair, I wonder if the CEO could explain what's the process that we're following with regards to managing expenditures and council's involvement in council approved projects. Through the chair.
Thank you. Mr. Payette, could you answer that for us, please?
So council approved projects, we get a budget. We do our best to meet the budget. Things happen like 50-year storms, which require repairs, which is the case with Weir Beach, and we can't estimate the cost of repairs and the timeliness of getting repairs done. So I have a spending approval to get repairs done on our assets, and that's the case with Weir Beach, is remediating that storm repair. Thanks.
So thanks for that, Mr. Payette. I guess the issue stands for me, which is that we haven't authorized ongoing spending, and now I guess there's guardrails to go on, but that's not a repair so much. Will that be in the budget here somewhere and then we'll approve it, or how will that work?
We're budgeting that for 2026. Thanks.
In the capital budget here? An operating charge, because it's less than $10,000 is not the reason. So if so, then I guess this project will end up being explicitly something that we didn't approve, a spend of $42,000 or close to the $50,000 that was on the table at the beginning, and we knocked it back to 15 to be a natural trail. The same story adheres to the Duke Road East Trail, by the way, where we authorized a certain amount of spending, and I guess I would like us to have just a written explanation of the cost, where the money came from for both of these projects, the Weirs Beach Stairs and Duke Road East, if that would be possible, Mr. Creek.
I think we can do that. Can we get a motion from council?
Sure, I move that we get a detailed costing of the sources of money and what the money was spent on for both the Weirs Beach Stairs project and the Duke Road East project. So moved.
Do I have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Shukin. Any further discussion, committee?
Yeah, I would just say it's important to me just from the sense of the confusion about what's happening with the dollars that we vote on this table, and then money seems to be used for different purposes than what we voted for in the case of the Duke Road East Trail and the Weirs Beach Trail. It's just not a happy story for us, and we need to get a handle on it, seems to me, especially when we're looking at a really big project, namely the fire hall. So just to understand how it works, what the rules are in terms of how our council works and how the staff work with the approvals. We've got a series of approvals here we're looking at today, or at least potential costs, and I'd like to see that we manage them well, given our financial circumstances.
Okay, Councillor Shukin.
Thank you very much, Councillor Donaldson. There probably can be some process improvements around, special project spending. That said, I think the lesson with the Weir Beach stairs is one that council has to embrace, and that is the fact that we were lining up to once again cheap out on an expensive and complicated project. I disagree that the Weir Beach stairs were somehow simple. When you're dealing with trying to maintain a natural trail, there's significant elevation change both going to the stairs and down, and there was work to try and level that out. And even that amount was probably not even adequate to doing a simple trail down. When you're talking about putting something on the shoreline, as we have seen, it is not simple, and it is going to get increasingly unsimple. So from my mind, again, think about the timeline that we approved the $15,000 for the Weir Beach stairs. It was early in the term. Interestingly, there was a bid. First of all, to get it to a decision point took a long time. Then there was back and forth in between our engineer at the time and our CAO and us on trying to figure out if we could get it done for the amount. Again, I believe that this council cheaped out on what is an asset and recognized by many in the community as such. So while I do recognize that there is some process improvement that probably needs to be done, I want to thank Mr. Payette for moving on getting a durable solution. And as I understand the mechanics of what happened at Weirs Beach, there was a lot of staff time that was put into it, and I think that's a large portion of the cost is staff time. And bravo to our guys for doing a great work, and I think it is going to end up proving itself as a durable solution. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, so I'm exactly on the same footing as you are. I think, Councillor Shukin, that I'm happy to have the work done here. The issue is the process, and what's the process we're following. So we don't disagree on that. There's an issue of reporting back and telling us what's going on and letting us know where the expenditures are at. That didn't happen in this case. Didn't happen in Duke Road East. It seems to me it's just a simple thing to improve it and understand how to do that. So I think like you, it's a very nice looking stairway now. If we cheaped out, as you say, we voted for it, we agreed it, then we should have heard back, hey, it's not adequate funding, we need some more money to carry on. So that would have been nice to know that. It's easy now to say we cheaped out. At the time, it seemed like we would get a rustic trail, which I think we agreed on, and for the price there, and we didn't have advice otherwise. So what do we know except what we're instructed by staff? So I'd just like to get a handle on it. So as we go through this and look at, we've got a series of $367,000 worth of special projects. I'd just like to know how we're going to manage those. Thanks.
Mayor Little and then Councillor Shukin.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I did want to comment, as I agree. I think our expectations were higher than what we afforded to the project of $15,000 at the time. We were suggesting that perhaps the William Head Institution could provide some labor in terms of the work release program. That didn't happen. Many of the expenses were due to labor. And I think it is a lesson for the council that, and I think community members have pointed out with the fire hall, don't put a cheap Band-Aid on, because in the end, it's gonna cost you more. And I think this is exemplified in this. 15,000 definitely wasn't enough to restore those stairs. And we did receive considerable feedback from the community that that was a capital that they wanted replaced and maintained to provide safe access for the Pearson College students and others living within that area of Metchosin. Thank you.
Councillor Gray.
Yeah, just speaking to the motion again, I'm talking about just what's the process for council to know what's going on and maintain and exercise our authority in a proper fashion.
Okay. And so I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Mayor Little opposed. Thank you. Okay, so if we can move on to any other comments on this part of the budget at the top of page 4. Councillor Gray.
Like Mayor Little, I would like to, I'd like to tonight particularly thank Rufus Roofing, True Line Contracting, Butler Brothers, Stan Fry, and True Line Contracting for the assistance they've given the district. And I appreciate the staff too worked with those different contractors. It's much appreciated their help in us achieving these nice assets.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Thank you. Councillor Shukin.
I've been wondering about, again, how to provide acknowledgement of their support. I think that's a question maybe we need to, have some further discussion on. But I'll just leave it at that for now. So.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gray.
And then I had a question about something that's missing from the document, and that's the Flesh Road Bridge. And so I just direct a question to Mr. Creek about where's the Flesh Road Bridge fit, or is that coming to us on another day? I know we talked about it some time ago. The CAO was eager that we move on it in 2025. We haven't done so, and will that be added at a later date to the capital projects?
Through the chair. So the CAO is currently waiting on another engineering report based on the shoreline or the river line, whatever they want to call it. Yeah, creek line. And then if we get that back in time, we can put it back into the budget. But right now, it's like I don't have it showing up in the 26 through 2030 financial plan.
I look forward to the report.
Okay. Okay, so let's go to the bottom of the page. Further capital projects. There's Public Works and Fire Department. The next sections here. Councillor Shukin.
Thank you through you, Councillor Donaldson. Mr. Creek, you put in $1.25 million for the fire hall, and I think you explained that this is from the community building fund?
Through the chair, correct.
Okay, and presumably that is just contingency in case we need it and we can move on the fire hall project in whatever form we decide to do that?
Through the chair, yes. It's there is work that can be done. Doesn't even matter which option is taken, whether renovation or new build, that we should get the ball rolling on it, just so that we can take it before this becomes even more expensive. So it's just kind of placeholder there, especially like hiring the project manager that's been talked about. I think now we've got the funding allocated, and the money is sitting there in the growing community fund.
Okay, 100% agree. And again, just so this is from reserve. If we don't spend it, it's not going away, and it's not a taxable amount. We're not adding to taxes like the impact of 1.25 million.
You're correct.
Great.
It's just sitting there earning interest.
Okay. One thing, if I could ask Mr. Creek, just a quick blowback question. We were talking about a while ago about the impact of inflation and of not moving, and how that the lack of a decision, the lack of action has cost us over time. Do you have any recollection? I think there was a report, I was looking for it today, where you had quantified that even in the short term. Like, and I'm sorry, I forget it. If there's something you can just remind me of, or maybe I'll...
Through the chair. I can't pull anything from my head for the report on inflation. I think there was a member of the public, Mr. White, I think when he was talking about it a few meetings ago, he had broken the number down into like $4,200 a day, based on the $21 million number. So yeah, the more it weights, the bigger it gets. When I was talking to Public Works about the Neil Road culvert, right, being 400,000, he was saying, it's like, yeah, every year you're kicking that, it's like closer to 10%.
Okay.
So 440, 484, that type of thing.
Just one follow-up question to Mr. Creek. Mr. White, you don't disagree with his assessment. I thought it was something like $2,500 a day or something like that. But so it's not incorrect what he is saying, what he had said.
So sure, nope. Like the non-residential construction inflation is over 3% right now in Vancouver Island, or southern Vancouver Island. So you want to take 3% on 21 million. Man, it's like $600,000 in a year. So yeah, I guess kind of closer to your number there. It would probably be around like, I guess 4,000 would probably be high. Sounds like it'd be 2,000 something a day. But anyway, significant amount.
I'll just pass on a compliment to Mr. White's math, and I hope he finds his cattle.
Yes.
It's announced today, but he's lost some.
Me
but-
too.
Okay,
Farmers
Thank you.
After work. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, just following up on that point, thanks to Councillor Shuka and Mr. Creek. I guess from my perspective, we delayed the project, the Fire Hall project, it sounds like for a year now, because of the application of grant that we're not likely to get, given that it's not regional, the project's not regional in scope. Our project is local in size. The possibility. So anyway, we wait a year, so the cost will continue to climb. Whereas if we did a phased-in approach, we'd be a little bit better off. We'd probably be starting work now. I just want to reference the question of the project manager. It's come up a few times, but in fact, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. We have a motion that Councillor Schutten made in the past, which was that we're going to look at the governance and see where we're going, what we're doing. Subsequent to that, it might be a project manager is in line, but until we get that first bit of work done to understand where we're at and what the next steps are, it seems premature. But I'm understanding then the $1,250,000 on the fire hall, unlikely to get spent. Place marker, it could be any value, but they're similar to the value we had last year in the same place.
Through the chair. Yep, it's just rolled over from last year.
I just wanted to ask about the EOC roof, if I may, through the chair. That's a building that, presumably if we proceed with option 1A, then the EOC would be a vacant building. And so we'd have option 1A at the fire hall would leave 3 buildings vacant. The current administrative building, which we understand through that option is meant to be reworked and not knocked down, but used for some other purpose, as with the apparatus building, as with the EOC building. Is it, at this point, is the EOC roof, what kind of shape is it in? Is this a building we're likely to take down, or is it a building that we'd leave there if we proceed with option 1A? Do we have a sense of that?
Through the chair. Not sure on the quality of the building. I'm gonna have to pass it over to the CIO or the fire chief.
Thank you.
What to do.
Okay. CIO or
think-
Fire Chief, can you give us an idea of the quality or condition of the building?
Yeah, the building is useful after, if we go ahead with 1A, as Councillor Gray is saying, what we do with the building. Well, that building has life in it still, so we could repurpose that building. I believe it is, and you might have to remind me here, but it's modular built. Yeah, there you go. So the lifespan for that type of building is slightly less than our traditionally built building. But so I hope that answers your question, but we could repurpose the building.
Thank you.
I guess the question then is, would we leave it standing under option? Should we spend the money this year to do the roof, or is the roof something that can be done next year? Is it an urgent thing? I think a roof's the number one thing to fix in a building. But is it a state where we need to do that this year? Should we wait until we've decided about the fire hall question and then come back and do that roof if we leave the building there? I'm just anxious about the $40,000.
So through the chair, the roof isn't currently leaking. It's just based on the life cycle of the roof. So we can monitor the roof for the next year, closely monitor it. And if we have a funding in place in case it starts to cave in, then we could do it quickly if I have approval. But failing that, we can leave it as a place marker.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the question I have, in the OCP, we have design described for our public buildings, and we've seen that with what's happening in the village with the old school, the bus shelter, the bike shelter, and including some buildings over here in the marketplace that are all tin. Well, does this include an estimate for a tin roof as opposed to a geroid? It will be a little bit different price. I think the tin roofs are not as steep as they used to be in cost, but is this something we would consider as well? So presumably as we start building new buildings, those would be things we would consider for longevity too and durability.
Yeah, I believe that's a great point. And if we end up keeping the building as an EOC, we would look at tin roof that would last 50 years, right? So look at bang for buck on that one.
Okay, yeah. Good to consider. Thank you. Mary Little, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to comment on Councillor Gray's assertions that we're unlikely to get the grant. He doesn't know that. In fact, you didn't avail yourself to meet with the personnel of the granting agencies at the UBCM conference, so you didn't hear from them what we heard, which I've already reported out on, that it was a good application. It ticked a lot of the boxes. They haven't heard from Machosen in a long time. And through my estimations, I think we have a good chance of getting the $7 million grant. That would be great for taxpayers in Machosen, that $7 million. I'm not sure why you keep repeating that we're unlikely to get the grant, because you don't know for a fact that we're not unlikely to get the grant. I think we have a good chance, and I think we should be positive.
Sure, I'm just referring to the criteria, which are projects are to be regional in scope, large, and also have innovation. So we're competing against, for example, Victoria, who've got a $206 million project for the Crystal Pool that's been through a referendum, and they're hoping to get $7 million. We're quite small. We're not regional. That's a small project, etc. That's the reality that I see it, and you may have heard differently. I guess we'll see when the results come in.
Mayor Little, go ahead, and then Councillor Shukin.
Yeah, I think in terms of regional, or this region's significance, comparing a pool and a public safety building, or comparing apples and oranges, and that we have ticked the boxes in terms of the criteria.
Thank you. Councillor Shukin.
Thank you. And just further to that, as I'm recalling the application, I think we pointed out that Machosen is a gateway to, 5 regional parks, and our fire department is one of the, will be dispatched if there's issues there, and we know that there have been some very unfortunate issues in some of the parks, so there is a regional nature to it as well. The governance piece that Councillor Gray referred to, I've actually done some work in this. I've connected with Mr. Payette on this, and I'm hoping that we might be able to view this in December or early January. So more to come on that.
Thank you. Okay, so turn the page to page 5, same section, capital projects. Anything further on the fire department information here that you see? Mary Little.
Somebody's going to mention it, so I might as well. The $250,000 for the fire truck replace, I think that's engine number 6, and CFO Creek mentioned that this was a placeholder, and my question is, so do we have to supply the $250,000 to be a placeholder? So that's a question to CFO Creek through the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Creek.
Through the chair, the money is entered in the budget in case, like, the fire chief is just waiting on one of the cheaper, kind of just sitting on the lot engines pops up, so that we don't have to order one to manufacture. The cost of emergency vehicles have escalated quite rapidly in the last 5 years. Where I just came from, we had purchased a new fire truck. When they booked it, it was 1.3 million. By the time we received it 2.5 years later, it was 1.9 million to order the same thing. And so we just want to have some money there in case something comes up, so that we can go be like, perfect, we got money now. And then in 2027, we got the same amount booked. So it's basically put a deposit down of the 250 and then finish it off in 2027 with the other 250.
Okay. And Mr. Creek, do you know what year this truck is that is expected to be replaced?
Through the chair, I do not.
Okay.
Over to the fire chief.
Chief, please.
Yes, engine 6 is a 2009 commercial chassis. It's a GMC 5500. And currently, while it is actually in still good working condition, we are having difficulty finding repair parts to it because they no longer make that particular make and model anymore. But we do have some people who are interested in actually purchasing from us as well, some even smaller departments. So we could look at, if we did find a lot vehicle, we could look at being able to sell it and then having that go toward that money as well.
Okay. Is this the engine named Pepper?
No, that's
okay.
engine 4. That's 2003.
Well, Pepper has some niggly wigglies too. Thank you very much. Councillor Gray.
On this one, I recognize it was in the budget last year, I think for 50,000, and then next year was, or this year is meant to be 450,000, and we've just changed the numbers so that it fits nicely. But I think it would be helpful. Last year, I recall, and I've got a few of them here, we had capital asset budget request forms, and they provide a little bit of a briefing to council and to the public to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And it seems to me an expenditure like 250,000, or well, it may be up to, am I reading this properly, $450,000 or $500,000. It's worth having a sheet that explains why we're replacing this vehicle, especially if it's another fire department will pick it up. It suggests to me that it's still useful for us. So I'd like to understand the rationale for the replacement at this point in time, and a sheet like that would be helpful. I think these sheets would also be helpful for some of the other items that we're asking about today.
That would be a good point. I know that Mayor Little had asked earlier in the term for some breakouts on some other items, so we can better understand that. So, but I appreciate that staff is here also to be able to answer our questions as we go along. But it's a good point. Thank you. Go ahead.
So in that same group of expenditures, I see $72,000 for something called tech rescue equipment, and it would be nice to have a briefing sheet just explaining that as well. We could hear about it today, but I noticed that in the budgets previously, it's been $5,000 per year going out over the full 5-year plan. And then it seems a bit interesting to see $72,000 this year. So rather than an explanation of the table, I think a sheet that explains it would be helpful for all of us on that, just to understand what that's about.
Thank you. Mayor Little, did you have a comment?
I was just wondering, could we refer that to the fire chief right now? If she could give us a, just a breakdown on the 72,000 tech rescue equipment, noting that there are potential grants available for this. Thank you.
Yes, I did notice that. Chief, can you explain the types of grants and the type of equipment we're looking at here, please?
So through the chair, inside that tech rescue equipment is some extraction gear or cutters. I think it was like, I think I was quoted $52,000, $56,000 for just the extraction equipment, and then the other ones are miscellaneous items that I'm. Here we go.
Okay, now I know what was in that 72,000. Sorry, we should communicate better. Yes, we have the original $5,000 that is in every year, and that's for just regular rope rescue and basic technical rescue equipment that just wears out every year. And then also included in that, we had to, it's been in the budget for a while in our capital replacement, our hydraulic extrication gear. So they average around $40,000 per piece. And we were fortunate this year to be able to actually get some used equipment again with good warranty on it. So we were looking at just purchasing one piece. We can actually bring that probably down considerably for next year. Yeah, I don't, I have to have a discussion with Jeffrey to see what else added. But if it's just the extrication gear, we can probably bring that down.
Okay, and what are the sources of grants for this?
For this, we don't really have any because the fire department, there's one grant that we can do buy equipment from through the CEPF grant, and that's for, it's gone back down to I think 30,000 now. And in this year, we put a new washing machine gear extractor. So there are actually two lines on our capital replacement. One is extrication gear and one's an extractor. So not to have those two confused, but we did put an extractor in and a dryer for our turnout gear into this year's budget for the grant. So it's not in our capital budget. That's a grant item.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the chief while she's on the mic?
Sure. So what we've got here, Fire Chief, is a briefing note that explains the capital expenditures, and then there are asterisks beside some of them saying grants available. So maybe the questions to Mr. Creek, wouldn't all of the issues where we have capital expenditures be in here and then be offset by grants, or some aren't in here and would be offset by grants, or how does that work?
Through the chair. No, I include everything in there, whether there's a grant or not. Even if there's a capital project 100% covered by a grant, I would put it in the list. It's kind of like the road thing. If we were going to eliminate that, I'd take off $400,000 from the roads. Say, hey, there's $400,000 coming from reserve. So it's the whole kit and caboodle.
Marilyn, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I just want to say thanks to the fire chief for that. It's great to help understand the costs. And I do recall hearing about incidents, particularly on Souk Road, where the extractors or jaws of life or whatever they're called have been used to rescue people. So we definitely don't want to prohibit the buying of that necessary equipment, but it's good to know the cost. So thank you for that.
Mr. Creek.
So through the chair, I think where there's a little confusion on our part in the fire chief is that the fire chief provides me with a really big spreadsheet that covers the 10-year capital numbers. And then I just kind of lump them all into different little categories to align with our GL. So she had a number of different items where it was like 5,000, 10,000, 50, and I'm just like, I'm going to put that all into one because it's not just one fire truck. It's easy enough to understand, but with the rescue equipment, it was like, well, shrink all the equipment into one line. Here it is. Some has a grant, some doesn't.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we can move forward. Do you have another comment, Marilyn? Okay, great. So if we go down to the administration department, are we ready for that?
Can I just make one
Yes.
comment about the school? Thanks for including that. And under $10,000 for assorted projects related to capital, I think we all got a note the other day about lighting at the school as you come out of the new wing. And I just might make a plea and a request for some action on that. When you come out of this time of year, it's pitch black, and it is incredibly hard to see. So one thing I have to say, I'm spending more and more time at the school. It is a thriving place on the weekends or in the evenings, and yeah, just great work, and hopefully we're getting good revenue. One thing I do have to say, I would like to see that place renamed at some point. It is no longer the school. It is a recreation center. It is a meeting center. It is a gathering point. I think we should find an appropriate place. One of the things, sorry, I know I'm off topic. One of the things I've seen in recent notices about events is they say at the school and classroom so-and-so, which is right next to mile 0. It's like our marker in the community has become a wonderful place, but it's not. Yeah, anyways. Thank you very much, Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you. But on that, in here, somewhere there's about signage for other things, but under the school, we were working on interior signage. I'm hoping we're still working on that. To your point, finding places is still a little bit of a misnomer. But I mean, people don't get lost. It's not a big place, but eventually I hope we get some signage on the inside as well, and arrows or whatever. So yeah, it is definitely happening place. There's more and more things happening, and Mr. Creek has been our booking agent, so taking over from what the chief had been doing previously, and thankfully we've got that transition in place, and it's busier and busier. I agree, the darkness is coming on board, and it gets muddy over there as well. So we did look at that I think last year when we're lacking lighting at the back of the building as well. So I think for security purposes, lighting all around, so something for us to consider in that part of the budget for the school as a whole. And I appreciate Mr. Creek putting in the ramp here as also an option for the Spark grant. It's, as we had said in our strategic priorities, about keeping accessibility in the forefront when we're working on these projects for consideration. Mayor Lilly had a comment?
I just had a question through the chair to CFO Creek. There is a ramp on the other side of the building. It is a cement ramp. Is the grade of the ramp, the inclination not appropriate? Why are we considering another ramp when that one seems to be pretty good? I know, of course, we've committed to making accessible changes throughout the district, but I'm just wondering how come that ramp can't be used? Thank you.
Through the chair. So this ramp came up with in a pre-budget meeting I had with Councillor Donaldson. I don't think we're going to be doing that ramp. It's the other side, right, closer to the field.
Well, it was something that we talked about, maybe getting Mr. Watkins to give us some background, and because I'm not an engineer, but I do know the amount of engineering and the work that went into the ramp for the school museum was quite significant as far as grade and width and how you can move with that. It is a very old ramp. I don't know if it's to the standard that's required today. We had talked about that on the other side of the building where there's where the flagpole is, and whether there's even room to put a straight line or a different configuration of a ramp coming in the double doors on the other side in the courtyard area. So those are things I'm hoping that staff can come back to us with on a report, but certainly nice to see it here because there's at least $25,000 in that grant, and it's only until 2026. Do not know if they'll renew that grant, but it is open. Go ahead.
So it's through the chair. It's not necessarily for a new ramp. It may be for modification of the old ramp,
Awesome.
Or okay. So have we asked the CAO to get bids or engaged in that process, ask our engineers to take a look at it, or where does that sit?
It's only a conversation I had with Mr. Creek, and I've actually left it with Mr. Creek to maybe connect with CAO and or our building inspector, Mr. Watkins, based on the fact that they've got the experience with the recent one we did this year. Go ahead.
And this next question is, would lighting be considered okay for that grant, that Spark grant?
That's
Through the chair.
a good question.
Through the chair. Yeah, that's a good question. We could run it by Spark BC. I would think it kind of leans towards accessibility because otherwise you are going to end up in a wheelchair. But we can, I don't know if it would fall under it. I think hopefully lighting wouldn't be that expensive that we could just take it out of the school building reserve itself without having to rely on the grant in case they say no to lights, but yes to a ramp.
Great, thank you. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, I'm not clear. The mayor's raised some good questions about the ramp proposal of $20,000, and a little bit more definition would be helpful before reaching approval on that.
I agree, having some background, and that's the conversation Mr. Creek and I had with staff that have more experience and knowledge. Okay, so moving on to the next part, please. Administration. Any questions regarding the information that's in front of us? Okay, so nothing for administration. Councillor Gray?
Well, we looked at the parking lot here, the municipal parking lot last year, and we denied the staff request to refurbish the municipal parking lot. And I'm not sure that our finances have changed very much. In fact, we've got worse messaging about where we're at. So I'm not sure that I support that particular issue. We could talk about that one briefly. The hearing loop, last year it was $2,000. This year it's $12,000. And I'm just wondering about the jump up in price. I've heard from people who sit in the audience, and I don't know what it's like this evening, but they can't hear whether or not they've got hearing aids or a regular hearing. So the hearing loop might help people who have hearing aids that are receptive to hearing loop, but we have other problems in this room in terms of the ability of the public to hear what we're saying. And so we talked about waiting on the hearing loop last year, the $2,000 one, until we got the new system in place. The new system's here, but it's not really working for people who can hear quite well. So I think we have some work to do there. I'm curious about the cost escalation. And second, is there something we can do generally in this room to make it better for folks?
Through the chair. So the original hearing loop was a low-end guesstimate. When I looked online for a cheap one, here it was $1,000 installation, cover that. The deputy corporate officer got a quote for a hearing loop from a professional audio company that came at $8,900 plus installation, which would get us up to the $12,000 number.
I thought you probably had done the homework, but but it's a big jump up. So the question is there better sound that we can put in the room otherwise? I don't have an answer to today, but something that we could talk to staff about.
Any other comments on administration's budget? Councillor Shukin.
Just will flag the bufferland water metering. I continue to think that it is a good move to provide the minimal funding that we have here. The question is making sure the data is protected and accessible. And I might even suggest that we work out some arrangement with a group like the Bilston Watershed Habitat Protection Association, just in terms of helping us understand the data, monitoring it for changes year over year. And again, we have to anticipate significant growth on Center Mountain, and also that is going to change the hydrology of the area, and just look forward to anticipating what that is. It may not happen next year, but it's bound to happen in like the next 10 years or something. So just, yeah, I thank you for including this here. Yeah, support for maintaining.
Councillor Shukin, do you know where this meter is located?
I believe it's the one we cross over when we go to the South Loop.
Langford actually put that one in. So
Yep.
Is that ours? Okay,
I think
so
that's the
are
one
they
we're
collecting
talking about.
data on that, or are we?
What I understand is we're both collecting data. Our previous engineer said he could call it up in a second, and yeah.
And that's just flow, that's not
It is,
quality?
yeah, just flow. Yeah.
Thank you.
So maybe I could follow and ask, what's the $4,000 for if we already have the metering there and we're able to access it?
Okay, software update.
Through the chair, and the annual service agreement for it.
Okay. Do we know at the moment who's monitoring the data?
Yeah, through the chair, our consultant engineer has a tab on the data. We're not getting all the feeds because the software is corrupted, so we're trying to get that fixed That's what the $4,000 is for. So currently it's being sort of managed by the engineer. So.
And following on Councillor Shukin's question, are we able to provide that information without FOI requests and things to the Bilston Watershed Habitat Protection Association, or are we limited from letting them know what's going on?
No, that I believe that information would be public. It's just numbers and quantity of water, so I think would be public information.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Shukin, remind me, we talked about doing water quality. Do you know where we were with that? Did we hire somebody to do that, or?
I believe, so the question was about monitoring water quality.
Quality, yeah. Or was
Now-
that the Bilston was going to do that?
I think it's Bilston.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about that quite a few years ago about, again, hiring the hydrologist, and it was mainly connected with
Okay.
the stormwater pond. So that, I think we've successfully pushed the pond to the side it should be at.
Okay.
And yeah, so that, I don't think we spent, well, maybe we spent a little bit of money, but nothing significant. So.
Great, thank you. Did you have a comment, Mr. Pratt?
We had hired environmentalist through the process. Then when Langford and the developer took back the project to their own property, we didn't really need the full kind of report from the environmentalist at that point. So we really didn't follow through with spending money on that. We didn't see that it would be necessary.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's move to page 6. We have Public Works, trail barriers, grinders, and assorted equipment. Any comments on that, Mayor Little?
Yes, through you to CFO Creek. Are these tree grinders or tree root grinders, or are they, not that it makes a difference, but I'm just curious. Thank you.
Through the chair, as far as I know, not tree grinders. It's like for equipment, like equipment grinding, metal grinding, concrete, that type of thing.
Councillor Gray.
Again, I think an information sheet on this would be helpful, just to understand what's all included there. Not a complaint, but just a way of us understanding what we're doing. The trail barriers, I found an information sheet from last year, 2025, and it's described here as a barrier along the trail on Happy Valley Road to prevent parking. And I think we said last year we'd wait and see if there was a grant. I guess a grant didn't come along. But I'm wondering about the utility of this.
Okay, so I will turn over to CAO Payette.
Yeah, that's correct. Councillor LeGray is correct. We're waiting to see if our active transportation project would be the grant would be approved, but then they've postponed that grant for a couple of years. So I believe maybe we should move ahead with this safety item. Thanks.
Councillor Shukin.
Thanks for raising this. The other place that we have talked about is the potential of having barriers or some type of parking prevention along the first stage of William Head Road. And Ms. Smith, a number of months ago, raised this. And it is something I do with Machosen Day or Mighty Machosen Garage Sale, I think, where you pylon it off. Just because when you're parking on the roadside trail, there's no room to walk. William Head Road at that area is really narrow. So again, if I could make a plea for consideration of a project there as well, of an appropriate nature. So thank you.
Councillor Gray.
Yeah, when I look at the roadway there at Happy Valley, I think where we're talking about, I don't see what the issue is in the sense that there's plenty of room at the side of the road and there's a trail there. So I'm not clear about that one at all.
So the issue is that we filled in a ditch in excess of $45,000 and it turned into a parking lot as opposed to a trail. So this would allow for it to be delineated so that people could still travel safely on by foot, on hoof, cycle either side, wouldn't interfere with plows, that sort of thing. And possibly in some place there might be room for parking. I don't really know. It's quite a large boulevard, but it turned into a parking lot. And it's not, it's an actual roadside trail that we invested funds into. No parking signs are not being acknowledged, and the no tows is not being actioned on. So this is something that's been talked about at council long before this term. Whether we put in an asphalt curb or rocks or scissor fencing, all sorts of different things. This was just another, these small trail blazers or barriers, I should say, are portable. We can try them and see if they work. We can figure out some other things. It's just a line item that we had talked about in the last year so that people have safe passage however they travel. And that was one of the key areas. And it didn't necessarily come out of the active transportation plan. It is something we've been observing for quite a long time. And the other one that was cited by our residents was what Councillor Shukin has just suggested, from the community hall down to where Medill Trail is on the opposite side of the road, is a roadside trail people use to park on. So it's just keeping people safe as they go to the different events that we host.
What's the parking question?
Is a parking interfering with trail use, so being able to traverse safely on foot. Mayor Little?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. It's also about protecting our assets. So a lot of money and time was spent on those roadside trails. There were some culverts, and those culverts are not designed to sustain the weight of vehicles over a long term. Usually culverts that are put beneath roads also have asphalt and other supports. They don't have concrete above them. So I think the delineators will also help protect the asset. Thank you.
That's a good point. Any other comments? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to parks. We've got dog signage, trail development. Any comments on that? Councillor Gray?
Yeah, last year, I think because we were shy in terms of spending, we turned down the idea of the $10,000 for dog signage. We did have a brief on that last year. And so I wondered if there's anything has changed this year, we should just put it aside again this year.
So some things have changed. This is $10,000 is a lot of money, and I met with our deputy corporate officer and our lead on the dog working group to decide on what signage, where, size of signage, who the contractors would be, whether it be TransSign, which we usually deal with, or Saanich has their own sign shop, those sorts of things. There's also a phased-in approach. There was we also talked about consulting with the parks as well. The phase-in being what the priorities were. We recognize that this is a lot of money, and maybe we only do 2 signs or 4 signs a year. Again, if we had an information sheet that would come back to us with that information and sort of lay it out so that maybe the committee has a breakdown of where those funds could be. One of the things I wanted to include in that was the 2 or 3 rabbit signs that we had requested some time ago for no dumping of rabbits, and that hopefully would offset our investment on managing the rabbit population, which we're going into our 4th year on that. So yeah, if we could have a breakout information on that, and I think the deputy corporate officer took very good notes on that, so perhaps we could ask for staff to come back to this committee with that. That would be helpful.
Thank you.
For us to make a decision. Thank you. Mayor Little, did you have a comment?
Just through the chair, a comment would be, this is actual recommendations from the dog working group. I think it was 2021, and council had voted to accept all their recommendations, which included signage. Unfortunately, there was no money. The recommendations were accepted, but there was no money put towards those projects. So this is sort of a legacy piece, and definitely something that I supported in the last term. Thank you.
Councillor Shukin?
And I too would support maintaining this amount for a good allocation of budget for signs. And I think it would be helpful, though, to put a little bit more information together in terms of what the signs would look like and where they would be placed. So, and again, the one thing, if the ethic is your dog must be under control, I think information and signs is an important sort of backup of that. So I think it is a good investment.
Yeah, so if our deputy corporate officer could, with her good notes that she took, I mean, we did talk about the control part, we talked about leave no trace. We're having, our staff is having to clean up a lot of the dog excrement off of the school grounds on these grounds. So again, we're responding to the providing a service, hopefully low cost, but it's an educational component we've been dealing with for a couple of years. So if we could have a layout of that information, then that would again help us understand what information is on there. Some of the other things we looked at was the size of the lettering and how much information, because people aren't going to read. So if it's more symbolic, that helps as well. But there is a lot of garbage being left behind with the lack of care and attention for our creatures.
Yeah, well, I look forward to learning a little bit more about it.
Sure.
And we can talk about it then. I mean, one of the issues is we heard a moment ago, people aren't observing no parking signs. Are they going to observe these signs? But and whether or not that's the best way to educate people, I'm not totally sure. But I accept the notion that these reports were accepted and now there's the money to be paid. Last year we put it aside, and I'm not sure this year our finances are in better shape.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments on this? Councillor Gray?
Yeah, I'm curious, I see trail development for $10,000, and when I flip back in the sheets, I see $10,000 of trail development under the 2026 capital projects. So it looks like it's 10,000 plus 10,000. And I wondered if there's a reason for that, or if that's how we've done it before. I think when we get a note back about the Weirs Beach and the Duke Road East, that'll start to explain, well, where's the money coming from for the different projects that we voted on? But is this a particular project through the chair to the CAO, Mr. Creek?
Through the chair? No, that is just 10,000 for miscellaneous. The 10,000 and 10,000 is just what's been in the budget previously, and so I just kept it rolling forward with 10,000 under kind of minor capital under the rec department and 10,000 under capital for trail development. Dave rarely, if ever, spent it.
Mayor Little?
Yeah, thank you. So historically, the Parks and Trails has been allotted 10,000 for capital, 10,000 for operational. That's going back many, many, many years. They've actually sometimes asked for a little bit more for special projects. Sometimes they've been granted it, sometimes they haven't. But I think it's important to keep in mind that we don't have a Parks and Trails department. Our parks and trails are maintained by volunteers mostly, and I would not be in favor of removing the 10 and 10 as we have done historically for many years. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Pat, would you like to
Yeah,
comment?
through the chair, I just wanted to confirm that Parks and Trails Master Plan mapping is included in the budget, in these budget numbers.
Thank you for that. Councillor Shuka?
I didn't hear that.
The Trails Master Plan work is being included in that budget. Councillor Shuka, do you
Full
concur?
implementation or no?
No.
Included? So just to get that clear, let's just.
The open house, perhaps? Open
Yeah.
houses?
So I just want to, again, sorry, I'm going to use this word one more time, a plea. So we did ask for $20,000 for the completion of the plan. And I'm hoping that can be continued forward for 2026. And we'll do what we can do to keep that, minimize any spending. So I just want to be clear that that's being allocated, or if it isn't, we can talk about it further.
Through the chair. Yeah, so they received $20,000 this year in the 2025 budget. Very little of that has been spent, so that it's just effectively we can roll that over into next year.
Okay.
no new taxes, nothing new out of reserve or anything like that.
And just to comfort Mr. Payette, we'll try and keep it at 10, if anything. But
I appreciate that. Thank you. Mayor Little.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Keeping in mind that the Parks and Trails Master Plan was created by volunteers. So it was at no expense to the district. Forgot to mention that. So that $20,000 was for implementation.
So with that, the GIS mapping that was reported out, where would that come out of the budget?
That will, when we get to that point, will come from the 20 that we've asked for. Yeah. So we still have to get to the completion phase, and there will be some spending that comes with that. We likely would want to hire a designer to lay it out properly. There will be some mapping expense that comes. We're not exactly sure how much. So those are bound to be the two big costs. So.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, it would be, I'm not clear on this. So there's $10,000 in capital projects, which I think the mayor is saying is operating money, and then $10,000 in special projects, which is, this is a tradition. And then, Mayor Little, you said $20,000 for the master plan for implementation. I think implementation is a different thing entirely, but Councillor Shukin, is it $20,000 for implementing the master plan, or that's what the CAO was offering as well? I think?
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke. So it wasn't for the implementation, it was for the extras that were not provided for by the volunteers for the master plan. If you look back at the old Parks and Trails master plan, there were maps and some other information that I think would be difficult for the volunteers to finish. Thank you.
So to hopefully alleviate any confusion, it is to complete the plan. And as Mayor Little is saying, it's to do some of the more technical things that our volunteers can't do. So.
Councillor Gray.
Looks like we're kind of nearing the end of this section, and I wondered about a couple of things. We talked about grant funding for some of the projects, and I'm curious, can we, as we move along, and there'll be more material on this, but it seems to me that those projects that are grant funded, or suggested they'd be grant funded, maybe we don't follow through with them if we don't receive grants. Is that a sensible approach to take with the capital projects that have been identified for grant funding?
Mr. Creek.
Through the chair, yeah, you can absolutely do that. Put that in. I would say, like the roads, grant funding guaranteed because it's coming from the gas tax. But the ones relying on the Spark BC grant, put those on hold until we actually are approved for that. And then same thing with the UBCM fire grants. Like the Fire Smart is guaranteed. That's probably about it. Yeah. So those ones can be put on hold and only approved if grant is received.
Mayor Little.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I suspect the $72,000 for the tech rescue equipment there are grants available to augment that, but if it's something that we need, I wouldn't want that included in the blanket exceptions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gray.
The other question I have, and it's a larger issue. I mean, we talked about getting some deeper explanation on some of the capital costs so we know what we're voting for. But I've got a kind of a different question for Mr. Creek, and that's this presentation, which I very much appreciate, details and the material there, and the asks that are being made. To me, it's kind of a one-sided look at things. So this is the information about spending largely from our reserves. And so, but at the same time, we've received information in this budget process about having a $3 million annual funding gap for our reserves. So we're spending out of our reserves, but before we approve any spending of the reserves, it seems to me we need to have some assurance about what are we putting into our reserves. In other words, are we building them up as we should? Are we going to be okay going forward if we spend the money that we see being spent here? I'm not talking about the need for the money, which I think Mayor Lilly is just offering. We need this, we better get it. I'm all over that. But I'd like to see, before we approve the capital plan, what's the plan going out in terms of adding money to our reserves, and how are we expected to do on that? So we've got a sense back and forth before we do all the approval on spending side. That's just a request, and probably Mr. Creek's already working on it, but there you go.
So through the chair, so right now, every year the district's going to contribute $1.3 million from the amortization of all the assets on record. So that goes into reserves. The additional grants, so some of the funding coming from the gas tax, that'll go into reserve that isn't used. And then so based on the 1.3 going in, like the district should be putting away 4.3. That's where we get the $3 million discrepancy. We've added in 1% every year for the next 5 years in this financial plan to contribute more to the reserves, and then any additional surplus that you get in a year, we've been contributing that into the reserves. I think last year there was a surplus of $800 and something thousand. Not going to be that much this year, but still going to be a couple $100,000 at least, and that can go in there as well. Unless council approves of a very significant tax increase, you're not going to get to the actual number you need to contribute to have safe reserves for the next 50, 100 years. But in the meantime, like, you do have to keep repairing and replacing what you do have. Otherwise, the problems are just going to be much higher in the future. It's kind of like the road projects themselves, right? We had the asset management plan done for that for a decade. They recommended what roads to be done for $800,000 a year. We've put off a couple of those from this year to 2026. Now it sounds like we're going to put off some more from 2026 to 2027. And so that the cost of the repairing those roads is just going to keep getting higher and higher as the quotes come in from the two available companies, just decreasing dollar, increasing fuel costs, that type of thing. So I wouldn't recommend putting anything off until you have enough money in reserve, because you're, again, unless there's a significant tax increase, you're never going to have enough for what you need in the future.
Thank you. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, and that's great, and I think that's where that kind of information in terms of our savings side would help us, because I think what you're saying here is be careful. Delaying some things is not a good idea given the financials. So I think seeing what we think we'll be adding would be helpful to us to understand the spending side of it. Thanks for that response.
Councillor Schutte.
So, Mr. Creek, in short, you are recommending that we allocate beginning this year the 1% to top off our reserves and to continue to do that in successive years.
Through the chair, you bet. Yeah, it'll be like 30,000, 26, 60,000, 27, 90,000, 28. So what I could show on page 10 of the report, where it gives the breakdown of all the reserves, like the reserve for future expenditures and the statutory reserve funds. I can make that even tinier and expand out each of those years, showing what's going in and what's coming out. And I can try and finagle my way into turning that into like a 2-3 page report, so it's a little bit bigger, but that'll show the money going in, money going out. Because like you can look at the road reserve, where at the end of 2025 right now it's showing 3.893 million, and then by the end of 2030 we're going to have 6.2. So that's based on us amortizing over $1 million a year. We're only using and then spending $800,000 a year, but only half of that is coming out of the road reserve. So we're contributing every year into that to get it up to 6.2. Whereas our community works fund, is right now 717,000. And by the end of 2030, we're down to 13,000 because we're using more and more of that for roads, which like it's supposed to be used for infrastructure. So not something that you really want to be holding on to. Plus, you have to use it within every 5 years that you receive it. So it should just be kind of a in and out process. And with the amount of roads that the district has itself, you should be spending that kind of money on the amount of roads that you have. So it's you receive a pittance, right? It's $300,000. We can allocate the whole thing. Now, right now, some of that money is going off to trail development and that type of thing. But I've been allocating quite a bit into roads in order to help build up the road maintenance reserve instead, because it'll help pay for the culverts that need to be done and everything else.
Councillor Shukin.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. That's great. Appreciate the explanation. So,
Okay. Any other comments to do with what we see on pages 8, 9, and 10? The last, excuse me, the last part of Mr. Creek's report. Seeing none, I will now open the. Yes, go ahead.
I do have a general question
Okay.
to Mr. Creek, if you don't mind, and Mr. Payette as well. There were some comments made earlier today, and this is a bit off topic, but I'm going to address the comments that were made earlier about the grant and aid process and the potential of addressing what people feel was, let's say, an error on the side of this council. And I guess I just wanted to hear from Mr. Creek what the realities were. But before that, I just will say that with Mayor Little, I've had a chance to meet with the people from St. Mary's, BC Parks, the YMCA, the Motorcycle Club. Mr. Creek was there as well. It was quite instructive to sit down with these folks, and we've learned a great deal. And I think actually the relationship is going to be much stronger as we move ahead. For a few reasons, personally, if I had to go back and do the PTE thing again, I probably would make a different. I would vote and approach things quite differently, again, based on what I've heard from these groups in particular. Met with talked in person with the Humane Society. I think Mayor Little has met with them directly, and we've had one-on-one discussions with the Hall Society as well. So I guess my question, though, is if we were to address some of the concerns that we've heard through the grant and aid process, is that possible? What are the implications for us all? So,
Through the chair. So you can certainly allocate another, I think you probably need like another $100,000 into grant and aid to cover off everybody if they applied through that process. And there's no real impact. Like you just end up shifting money, right? Where it's like some lines on your person's tax notice, it's going to be less. Now they just shift that funding up to the general municipal line. No worse for wear generally. So everybody's just paying more in the end, but they're just paying a different tax collector at the end of the day.
Mayor Little?
Yeah, thank you. We did discuss this at our last meeting. The question was, do we need to have a motion to add that to the grant and aid? And Mr. Creek, if I recollect, you said no, that you will do that, bring that forward. And there will be hopefully 2 grant and aid, one for the other community groups that we normally hear from, that was kept at 5,000 of late, and then the other grant and aid for nonprofits that previously received a permissive tax exemption for just south of $90.7 million or $90.7 thousand or something like that. Is my recollection correct? Through the chair to the CFO.
Through the chair? Correct. Yeah, it was I think it was 97,000 for the district portion, and then 92 for the other taxing authorities. And those numbers were based on the 25 assessment and the 25 tax rate. So you're looking at 100 something on the district portion, and then like another close to 100 on the other taxing authorities. And it's like we're just shifting which taxing authority is collecting the money on behalf of who. So generally, all said, whether you had the permissive tax exemptions passed or going through the grant aid, everybody's out the same amount of money.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, committee? Councilor Shukin.
So, sorry, another through you. Question to Mr. Creek. Mr. Yates earlier had spoken and written a letter, and he was asking us to reflect on some of the practices that are done in the private sector and bringing them here. And I probably many of us have in this room been involved in some of those corporate meetings where we're discussing budget. I've been involved in quite a number, and I always remember the one individual who year after year brought proposal to have 5 new positions brought on, and of course, as Mr. Yates was saying, he was challenged every time. And I guess I just wanted to maybe ask your thoughts on. I have to say through you, Councillor Donaldson, you've been a consummate professional as much as I've seen, and you've opened a ton of doors in terms of this district's finances. And so thank you for that. But any thoughts on the approach that Mr. Yates is noting here versus what the real and lived experience is at the municipal level?
Through the chair, thank you. It's slightly different versus the private sector and government sector and how this all would play out. So all of these projects, they're all at a level that we need to seek out RFPs and public tenders. People are going to bid on them. When they come and bid on them, and we choose the lowest price available, us going back and telling the road construction crew that they need to take another 5 or 10% off because they're going to come pave our roads. They're not just going to say, you bet. They're going to say, all right, which one do you not want to do? They do want to knock that one down to 95% or 90%. It's what we get on those bids is what we get on those bids. I'm not keen on spending $800,000 or $400,000. Like, I don't get any. There's no benefit to me. I don't want to spend any more than we have to on any of these projects, as we've shown with reserves and the money that's going to be needed in the future here. We need to spend as little as possible on any capital project. But when the capital project has to be done, it has to be done, and we have to pay what the market is available. And unfortunately, on Vancouver Island, we have a much smaller pool of people to rely on for all these jobs, and so they can basically charge what they want, especially when we only have two companies that bid on any project. We had 2 last year that bid on it. We had 2 in 2024, 2 in 2023, 2 in 2022. And it's the same people, and they're going to charge us what it costs them, and in order for them to make their profit margin that they want. So we can't do anything on there. I know the fire chief is working as hard as possible to find the cheapest truck to replace their fleet equipment. We're not trying to do. We don't make anything off of spending more money. We're trying not to. So I would love to spend 10% less when people bid on the culvert or the roads or providing a truck or a fire hall. There's no way to say, okay, let's get this thing, but make it cheaper. The only way would be to reduce the quality of the road. We can shrink how much the level is, but again, that goes back to changing road policy, those types of things. So there's certainly opportunities, maybe in a little bit of area on a building itself, but on a road, on a truck, you're kind of stuck with what the market price is. And they don't generally nobody gives a break to government because they know it's basically an endless pit of money for them. Other than the local contractors who did save us a bunch of money on the fire hall roof and the community parking pit. So, but once you get to bigger people and they're in Victoria and they don't care about us, then it's a different look.
And on that, I'd like to comment that I appreciate us keeping some of this business local too. This is important. I think that's fiscal responsibility on everything that we are supporting. Councillor Gray.
Well, and in your corner, Jeff, you know, the culvert project that Mr. Yates identified is one that we're looking at, and in fact, the prices may be much less than what's here. So you are pursuing the kind of work that I think in the spirit that was put forward, that on each of the items we talked about, I think we're saying, well, what can we actually do with the money we have, and what's the best price we can get? And I think that's what we're being asked to look at. We'll need to keep doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say similar. He identifies that senior management to challenge estimated expenses, and while we haven't really challenged it, we've asked questions around each item so that we can make informed decisions going forward. So we are following best practices as well in our budget deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I'm going to open the floor up to the public, and I invite the public to come to the mic and share your observations, ask us some questions for Mr. Creek or our other staff. Just state your name and the street in which you live, please, and turn on the mic so that the red light comes on. Thank you.
Avril Yoakum, Windfall Road. Last council, road maintenance, there was a list. I don't know if you remember, roads were listed, not even necessarily needing repair, but under the previous mayor, when the road list circulated and came up, it was attended to. Are you following the same practice?
Well, we did have a reassessment of all the roads, but just because the traffic patterns have changed as well, so it's been updated.
Okay.
And as you've heard this afternoon, there are some that we may revisit, and we did institute the crack sealing and patching at the beginning of the term.
Okay.
That prolongs it some, it doesn't take care of it
That's
completely.
Good. Next question. How's the finances on the old school?
Mr. Creek?
Through the chair, revenues even higher than it was in 2024, thanks to some pretty good use, some birthday parties, AGMs, more training revenue, pickleball, West Shore Parks and Rec. So things are turning out pretty well, and we've just about got a new tenant for the school coming in January, possibly the end of December. Kind of depends on the construction timeline, but much improved, I would say that.
So how's the income for this year?
Through the chair, last time I looked, I think we were just over $80,000 by the end of October.
How much?
80,000.
8,000 income?
880. 80,000.
Yeah. And how's the expenses?
Through the chair, pretty much the same as they were last year. Like insurance was $21,000 on it. Heating and lighting have gone up a little bit just because of the extra use. Cleaning did the same increases they did.
So where does that put us for this year?
Right now, through the year, at the end of October, I think we were down $100,000.
So we've income of 80,000, expenses at 100,000.
Oh no, like expenses being like 180. So we have $100,000 loss right now in the school.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And question for Mr. Creek, I think
Yes.
last year it was 80,000 that we were short, something in that ballpark.
Through the chair, I'll have to check on that.
Okay.
When I get back to you.
I think it was 190.
Anything else from the public? Please feel free to come forward.
June Reimer, Marydale Road. I have scrawl and numbers. I hope I can find them. Thank you for all the information and through the meeting. So number one, Jay, you were mentioning at the old school, the lighting. And yes, I'm also playing pickleball like you are. And the lighting is really poor. But one other thing that I'd like to mention, and the pickleball is going great, really great. But there also is a lot of problem with the road and the sidewalk and entries. So last winter when it started to get really wet, we have running shoes on. Like we do change in the gym, but I still had running shoes coming out. And to try to get into the regular parking lot between the Heritage Old School and the school, just on the sidewalk, I stepped in about a puddle of about 2 inches of water. When you are trying to get into cars that are facing Happy Valley Road in front of the pickleball end of the school, there's some really big troughs and holes. And so one or two of the parking places are very difficult. But also, it looks to be there's meant to be 2 entries, an entry and then an exit over there by the picnic tables, by the stairs entering the school. But it is very frequently blocked. People are parking. Do you understand where I'm meaning, most of you? Yeah. There's almost always a vehicle or two parked in it. And so it means that everybody is trying to come in and out of the one entrance and it doesn't feel safe. So I think that should be clarified. Is it an entry? And also there and the 2 parking places beside it are really full of water, potholes. For a meeting the other night that we had, a really great meeting that was at the school, the local fellow that spoke on climate in the world, a lot of people were parking at Broken Paddle and across the road. And to get across, there's just, the land is very rough through that area. Sorry, I'm taking so long. Okay, number 2. This I didn't fully follow, but it had to do with the development through Langford, the new development on Center Mountain, and something about stop spending. Our environmentalist was doing something, but stop spending money on something as Langford has taken over, dealing with something on their side. I think we should be watching everything that Langford is doing, especially if it has to do with drainage and the creek and money. So I think we need to still spend some money there. I might have it wrong, but if I think that's what you're referring to. Okay. Number 3. This I could probably ask as an aside, but on my small road, Marydale, I think we have a very dangerous slope happening. Who do I speak to? Is it roads? Because if the snowplow went on and they went 1 inch off the pavement, I think they could crash. So there's probably little roads that are having that happen. Where do people go when they
Talk to Mr. Pat and he'll.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Number 4.
A few more seconds.
Okay. Well, this one I really wanted to say I'm really glad that you guys were meeting with the nonprofits. I felt very concerned about how that happened. I still feel it's a very slippery slope if we change what we were doing and we just say, well, we'll pay you back that money this year. I would really hate to see them go. Totally hate to see them go. And I know that certain ones were met because I've dealt with Wild Ark for years. I tried to phone the volunteers there and say, I hear people are meeting, but they didn't really know who to speak to. So I'm just hoping everybody had a very fair chance to explain their point, and that Wild Ark also did too. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Regarding the SPCA Wild Ark, I've had a really difficult time trying to reach them. I've even called the main number and left voicemails for the finances. I've got a letter printed out. I was going to just drop by. there because they're one of the outstanding groups, so I haven't been able to reach them. So that's my next step.
Yeah, they're basically all volunteers working there, and they're really short-staffed right now. So each time I spoke to a different one and said, who could you speak with? I ran into Penny Stone yesterday out shopping and asked her about it. I know that she was concerned about their new facility because they can actually could sell it. They have offers to sell the land. So those are all reasons that we want to keep these things in Metchosin and volunteer going. But I really don't know who to speak to either, but it's a real problem because I've worked with them for 15, 20 years, and I know that they are always have equipment issues. They are using, they're really helpful for having apprenticeship university students or Hopeful University or biology, or that's coming in. And it's just a very important organization, and it doesn't have a lot of money. So keep it up, and hopefully we can find where. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Tamara Ballard, Metchosin resident. Through the chair, my question is to Mr. Creek. Could you please repeat what you said about the Donaldson's Bridge, Flesh Road Bridge, please?
Through the chair. So right now the CAO is waiting on a engineering report. And then when we get that back, we can look at adding that back into the capital budget somewhere in 2026, 2030, but it might be later than that. I'm not too sure the status of the actual report. So.
Thank you. Also, Council Donaldson, I've heard you mention a couple times about development on William Head Road. Is there a project happening? Okay. And Councillor Gray, I would just like to note that your negativity about the grants is, well, very concerning. It feels like you're trying to divide the community.
Point of order.
When you speak like that.
Point of order, if I can. Councillor Donaldson, I just might ask Ms. Ballard to maybe rephrase her question. I don't know if we need to be accusatory at the table. It's
My question then is, Councillor Gray, are you trying to divide the community? Is that better?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, through the chair. And a little bit more information for council on the Flesh Road Bridge progress. I am waiting for engineering report on the specifications so that I can bring that information back to council, and council and I can discuss the tendering process. And we also, council had asked to visit the bridge, and I'm still waiting for a date where council can have a look at the bridge. Should hopefully coincide with the specification information, but failing that, I'm still planning on touring council there. So, okay.
Any other comments from the gallery?
Sherry Rourke, Rocky Point Road. Just a couple of things. One, just sort of addressing, I think, comments from public and council on project overages is I think it's really difficult for local governments, homeowners, businesses to operate on budgets versus real expenses. In the construction industry, we used to be able to rely on holding prices for 30, 60, 90 days, and now you're lucky if you get 5 days. And since COVID, price changes are quite volatile. So in speaking specifically to the Weirs Beach Bridge, I have to concur. I think $15,000 was really unrealistic a number for that project. Being a contractor, I think having the district staff working with Chris Watkins in doing that project saved the district a significant amount of money on it. Had that gone out to pricing, you would have paid more than what you did pay for it. So, I mean, just that one specific project, I can't see how you would have done it for any less expensive. My other question is sort of around permissive tax exemptions and moving forward in the future. CFO Creek had mentioned that other local governments typically have established caps of 1.2 to 1.5% of their annual operating budget. And it's my understanding that, you know, that helps ensures that there is support for eligible organizations, but that those expenses remain predictable, equitable, and fiscally responsible. And I'm wondering if Metchosin will be looking at implementing something as such in the future, and what CFO Creek's opinion is on that. And it was my understanding that that is very commonplace for other local governments in and around British Columbia. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Creek?
Through the chair. So yeah, for the property tax exemptions, because of the election in 2026, we're going to be bringing that forward well sooner than the fall of 2026. And then I will be kind of highlighting what everybody else is doing around here. As mentioned, kind of ranging from that 1.2 to 1.5, 1.7 range as of property taxes. And right now we're at almost 2%. And then when you tack on all the other grants and everything else that's handed out to the different groups here, closer to like 4 or 5% of property taxes going off to charitable organizations. So I was going to present the information in a different way in the summer, spring, and council can discuss there, give some people some more time. But we'll need to have that bylaw passed much earlier because nobody's going to do anything with the new council by October 31st.
I think that's important for the public to understand too, because we all want to support all of the organizations. But again, we have, I think the number was 2,079 tax-paying properties with no growth, no change. So as more people come in looking for more support, that pressure is placed on individual tax owners. And then the only other thing I wanted to comment on is I understand the district is under extreme financial pressure, but delaying projects such as roof replacements and things like that seem very short-sighted given the extra cost that would be placed if something like that did sustain a leak, and other similar projects. I just, you know, a $40,000 job, if that roof leaks, is easily could be a $150,000 job fixing drywall repairs, mold, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Gray.
I'll just, on that last point, Ms. Rourke, I sought the advice of the CAO, and he can tell us what the situation is. I don't disagree with you. If the roof was to fail, that would be unfortunate. I'm just asking, is it this year? Is it next year? When should we do it, Kim? And so there's lots of decision making to be done about that particular building. And so I'm with you. Replace a roof immediately. What was done at the fire hall is was unfortunate. It's the number one repair to do. So I'm seeking advice from staff, not driving an agenda of my own on that.
Anybody else have comments from the public? Okay, seeing none. Just want to acknowledge that we had 4 people write in to us, as well as they spoke to each of their letters, and I believe we've covered the majority of the information and queries that they had. Any comments from the committee regarding the pinks? We've covered it off. Yes. Okay. So thank you very much. And I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Shukin, second by Mayor Little. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.